Howdy gamers, and I just got this comment saying I should check out a game called Contra Roll Corps. I haven't really heard anything about the game, but I have heard good things about the Contra series, so I guess I can go ahead and give it a try. Well, I beat Contra Roll Corps, my hands are covered in blood now, and all I can ask is what the heck was that? Why would anyone recommend me to play that? That was awful! I need to see the original comment so that I can... Oh. It looks like they just told me to play Contra and then just threw up on their keyboard. Well, I guess now I can check out the original Contra for the NES. I mean, it can't be much worse than Contra Roll Corps, right? Contra on the NES came out February 20th, 1988, 31 years before Satan, 25 years before Jesus, and 16 years before me. And now that you know everything you would have learned if you had taken AP History in high school instead of slacking off, I can finally talk about Contra itself. Contra is a run-and-gun style shooter that was originally released as an arcade game in 1987, but since home consoles were doing well, Konami ported Contra to the NES and other home computers. But possibly someone sees the problem with this. For those of you who don't know, this is part of a series on the channel where I go over the top 126 games of all time. But in the original video, I made it clear that I wasn't going to count any arcade games on the list, so you're probably wondering, why am I covering Contra then? And it's because I didn't know that Contra was originally an arcade game, is what I would say if I was an idiot who admitted their mistakes, am I right? I refuse to admit my mistakes, so I definitely didn't edit the Contra Wikipedia page to prove that I'm right. Anyways, off topic, to prove that I'm right, to quote the reliable source known as Wikipedia, the NES version is different to the arcade version, it has longer stages and numerous other modifications. You see, there were so many differences between the NES version and the arcade version that whatever handsome man wrote this couldn't even name them all. Otherwise it probably would have reached Wikipedia's limit of a lot of words. So, now that we've established that Contra on the NES is not the same as Contra in the arcade, let's actually talk about the game. First off, Contra has not aged well in some territories. I'm fine with the graphics. I think that pixel art for the most part when done well can be pretty timeless, and Contra does a really good job when it comes to pixel art. Also, the music is still good to this day. I think that Contra hasn't aged well in the fact that there are still game overs. I don't know if this is a hot take, but for the most part, I think that game overs in video games are unnecessary. Especially here in Contra, where it's just artificially lengthening a game with artificial difficulty. I feel like I could make a whole video on the subject of game overs in video games, but to keep things short, Celeste does a good job by having no game overs at all. Of course, an NES game isn't going to be long enough to do something like that. But in Contra, it goes all the way to extreme and restarts the entire game when you get a game over. Now, I get that Contra, like I said, was originally an arcade game, but if you go back to the Wikipedia article I definitely didn't edit, it says it has numerous modifications from the arcade version. Getting rid of the game overs should have been one of these modifications. Games like Kid Icarus, Mario Bros. 3, Mario The Lost Levels, and Kirby all did something like this. If you get a game over in Kid Icarus and Kirby, you restart the level. And in The Lost Levels and Mario Bros. 3, you restart the world. And even in Mario Bros. 3, you don't really restart the world. I don't really know how to describe it, but if you play the game, you know what I mean. I kept track, and because of the game over system in this game, I had to play the first level 41 times. It was sort of fun the first 10 times, but it got really old after a while. And each playthrough of the first level takes around 1 minute and 30 seconds, and if you add that up, it just ends up being an hour of my life playing the first level. That's an hour of my life that I could have been either procrastinating or playing Yoshi's Cookie that I'll just never get back. To be fair, some of those deaths were me killing myself if I took a hit, but so having to restart the game every time I got a game over really made the game less fun. Fortunately though, it wasn't all that bad. The levels in the game are a lot of fun, and they all look unique from each other with the exception of Base 1 and Base 2. Going off of that, they also all feel different from each other playstyle wise. In the jungle, there's the water beneath you that you can fall into, which will slow you down. In the level named Waterfall, instead of going left to right, you're climbing up a waterfall. And in the snowfield, there are the tanks and some platforming. In Energy Zone, there's the fire that shoots at you. In the Hangar Zone, there are spike walls and hooks that come down. And even in the final level, there are 2 boss fights and whatever these things are. I really appreciate the variety that this game had, and a lot of NES games at the time didn't, so it really makes it stand out. If you look at another NES game like Super Mario Bros., these 4 levels look like they're from the exact same level, but this is from 1-2, this is 4-2, this is 1-1, And I even pulled a fast one on you. This level was from the Lost levels and is 1-2. Anyways, in addition to most of Contra's levels feeling and looking unique, all the boss fights are. And they're also cool as frick, except for the one in Hangar Zone, but even then, Hangar Zone as a level is just trash, so I mean it fits the theme, I guess. Continuing on with boss fights though, the fact that there are sound keys for when you're doing damage to the bosses in boss fights is just so good. They could have easily fricked it up and made me confused as to what I'm supposed to be aiming at here, but they didn't, and they do deserve some credit for that. Unfortunately though, on the other side of things, sometimes the levels can just be unfair, and also the game does an annoying thing where it doesn't respawn you where you die, which there's just no reason for it not to respawn you where you died. And honestly, in the waterfall level, me dying here and then getting respawned all the way over here killed me a lot more times than I would like to admit. Honestly though, other than the respawn issue and the fact that the game over sends you all the way back to the beginning, I don't have too many problems with the game. It would have been nice if what you got from flying capsules was randomized, and it would have been nice if it showed me the point counter so I knew how close I was to getting an extra life, but to be honest, those aren't really major problems with the game. Also, even if the gun drops aren't random, they still do add a nice variety, and even if the spread gun is definitively the best gun, people can still have a preference between guns like the laser gun and the machine gun. Overall, I'd have to say Contra is one of the best games on the NES. To be fair, that's not saying too much, considering in my opinion a lot of NES games haven't aged all that well, and that's why to give it an award, I would give it the 1988 Game of the Year award, because... Hold on. Hello? Wait, really? You're right, I am really handsome. It was fun talking to you. Apparently Mario Bros. 3, Mega Man 2, and John Madden Football all came out that year, and that's why I am going to have to give this the 1998 Game Award, because it sure is a game that came out in 1988. Also, to give this game a score of 100, I would give it an 80 out of 100. Like I said, the game is great, but at the same time, there are also the annoying respawns and the whole annoying game over system that really lower this game's score. At least it's not Contra Real Corpse though, and speaking of that, I'm kinda glad that I won't have to play any bad games anytime soon. I mean, this is a series where I go over the top 126 games of all time. It's not like I'm gonna have to play through a game that I think is bad. Frick, I'm gonna have to play through a game that's bad. I guess until then, stay safe, and I love you guys. Whoa, what? It's me? And I'm talking at the end? Yes, it's true, and I'm here to say thank you guys so much for 50 subscribers. It honestly means a lot, and it's kind of surprising because it's only been a few months and we're already halfway to 100 subscribers. I really do appreciate your guys' support and comments. I'm not going to make this a regular thing, me talking at the end card, but I also will probably be talking next week because I'm going to be making an announcement. So once again, thank you guys so much for 50 subscribers. I really do appreciate it, and see you next week.